Greetings and welcome back to the broadcast. I'm Sean, your host. The website is www.scriptureandprophecy.com. And I thank you for joining me this morning. We're going to be continuing our study in the ancient book of Jubilees, found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's just been an excellent study so far. Lots of great feedback on this series. And today we're going to be reading chapter 24 and 25. This basically deals with two issues. Number one, the Esau selling of his birthright to his brother Jacob. And then Rebekah warning Jacob about the importance of not marrying a Canaanite woman and walking and being holy, unlike his brother Esau. And so that is what it's dealing with today. Maybe not quite as exciting as some chapters that are more prophetic, but there's certainly a lot of lessons for us here in this topic. So without further delay, let's dig right in, starting with chapter 24, Esau selling his birthright. Verse 1. And it came to pass, after the death of Abraham, that the Lord blessed Isaac his son, and he arose from Hebron, and went and dwelt at the well of the vision, in the first year of the 3rd week of this Jubilee, 7 years. And in the first year of the 4th week, a famine began in the land, besides the first famine which had been in the days of Abraham. And Jacob sawed lentil pottage, and Esau came from the field hungry. And he said to Jacob his brother, Give me of this red pottage. And Jacob said to him, Sell to me thy birthright, and I will give thee bread, and also some of this lentil pottage. And Esau said in his heart, I shall die. Of what profit to me is this birthright? And he said to Jacob, I give it to thee. And Jacob said, Swear to me this day. And he sware unto him. And Jacob gave his brother Esau bread and pottage, and he ate till he was satisfied. And Esau despised his birthright. For this reason was Esau's name called Edom, on account of the red pottage which Jacob gave him for his birthright. And Jacob became the elder, and Esau was brought down from his dignity. Now, real quick, the same story in the actual Bible is spot on with what's here in Jubilees. Let me just read these 5 verses out of Genesis chapter 25 real quick, and then I'll talk a little bit about this birthright stuff. Starting with verse 29, and Jacob sawed pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, Feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. And Jacob said, Sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, Behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me? And Jacob said, Swear to me this day. And he sware unto him, and he sold his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage for lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. Now, I feel like there's a lesson in that phrase that's both in the scriptures in the book of Genesis and here in the ancient book of Jubilees, which is that that Esau despised his birthright, and he gave it up for something of this world. And I just feel like there's so many people who God has called out of the gutters, but they refuse to really follow after Christ. They love the world so much. And even people who might be saved, right? They've trusted in Christ for salvation. They're saved by faith. They're giving up their reward, They're giving up their heavenly rewards in heaven for the things of this world. So many are just like Esau, where we despise our birthright because we love the things of this world. We'd rather enjoy the things that the world enjoy the shows and set our eyes upon the things that the world enjoys, versus to deny ourselves, to come out of the world and to take up our cross daily and follow after Jesus. You know, the scriptures, I've made this comment before, heaven is not a socialist government. There will be reward, position, and things based on what you've done. And there's so many scriptures we can talk about. Jesus even mentions in Matthew, the Gospel of Matthew chapter 6, about not laying up treasures for yourself on earth, but instead lay them up in heaven, right? He says, lay not up for yourselves treasure upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And he says in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 8, for what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world, but lose his own soul? And so many people are like Esau, where they're giving up their birthright, their reward, their heavenly treasure, their, in many cases, people giving up their salvation, choosing the world. And the comparison is the same, because you're giving up the greatest things possible and a relationship with the Creator for soup, for lentils. You know what I mean? And Esau, he's so controlled by the flesh. He's hungry. He comes in from working and he's so hungry. And he's like, oh, I'm going to starve to death. What good is my birthright? Give me some bread. And I mean, would Esau have really starved to death? Gave up his birthright for a pottage, for a pot of lentils. And the scriptures say, therefore, he despised his birthright. He attributed no value to it. And so, when we get to the story where Rebekah conspires with Jacob for Jacob to go in and steal the birthright from Esau by pretending to be Esau, and then Isaac blesses Jacob instead of Esau, we might look at that and be like, oh, that's so wrong. But remember, Esau sold his birthright to Jacob, so it belonged to Jacob to begin with. Number two, both God and Abraham had made promises to Rebekah that her son Jacob would be the one that the Messiah would come through, that the blessings would come through, right? So we have to remember those things in context when we're reading those. Anyway, that was a long ramble, and I've made this point before, but I don't feel like I made it this morning as well as I would have liked. I'm having trouble articulating what I'm trying to say, but I hope that you're getting the connection between our own lives and the lives of those around us and Esau, and how we need to be careful. All right, moving forward, verse 8. And the famine was over the land, and Isaac departed to go down to Egypt in the 2nd year of this week, and went to the king of the Philistines, to Gerar, unto Abimelech. And the Lord appeared unto him and said unto him, Go not down into Egypt, dwell in the land that I shall tell thee of, and sojourn in this land, and I shall be with thee, and bless thee. For to thee and thy seed shall I give all this land, and I shall establish my oath which I swear unto Abraham thy father. And I shall multiply thy seed as the stars of heaven, and shall give unto thee the seed all this land. And in thy seed will all the nations of the earth be blessed, because thy father obeyed my voice, and kept my charge, and my commandments, and my laws, and my ordinances, and my covenant. And now obey my voice, and dwell in this land. And he dwelt in Gerar 3 weeks of years. And Abimelech charged concerning him, and concerning all that was his, saying, Any man that shall touch him, or aught that is his, shall surely die. And Isaac waxed strong among the Philistines. And he got many possessions, oxen, and sheep, and camels, and asses, and a great household. And he sowed in the land of the Philistines, and brought in 100-fold. And Isaac became exceedingly great, and the Philistines envied him. Now all the wells which the servants of Abraham had dug during the life of Abraham, the Philistines had stopped up after the death of Abraham, and filled them with earth. And Abimelech said unto Isaac, Go from us, for thou art much mightier than we. And Isaac departed thence in the 1st year of the 7th week, and sojourned in the valley of Gerar. And they digged again the wells of water which the servants of Abraham his father had digged, and which the Philistines had closed after the death of Abraham his father. And he called their names as Abraham his father had named them. And the servants of Isaac dug a well in the valley, and found living water. And the shepherds of Gerar strove with the shepherds of Isaac, saying, The water is ours. And Isaac called the name of the well Perversity, because they had been perverse with us. And they dug a second well, and they strove for that also. And he called its name Enmity. And thence he rose from there, and digged another well, for that they strove not, and he called the name of it Room. And Isaac said, Now the Lord hath made room for us, and we have increased in the land. And he went up from thence to the well of the oath, in the 1st year of the 1st week of the 44th Jubilee. And the Lord appeared to him that night, on the new moon of the 1st month, and he said unto him, I am the God of Abraham thy father, fear not, for I am with thee, and shall bless thee, and shall surely multiply thy seed as the sand of the earth, for the sake of Abraham thy servant, my servant. And he built an altar there which Abraham his father has first built, and he called upon the name of the Lord, and he offered sacrifices to the God of Abraham his father. And they digged a well, and they found living water. And the servants of Isaac digged another well, and did not find water. And they went and they told Isaac that they had not found water. And Isaac said, I have sworn this day to the Philistines, and this thing hath been announced to us. And he called the name of that place Well of the Oath. For there he had sworn to Abimelech, and Husath his friend, and Phicol the perfect of his host. And Isaac knew that day that under constraint he had sworn to them to make peace with them. And Isaac on the day cursed the Philistines and said, Cursed be the Philistines unto the day of wrath and indignation from the midst of all nations. May God make them a derision and a curse and an object of wrath and indignation in the hands of sinners, the Gentiles, and in the hands of the Kittim. And whosoever escapeth the sword of the enemy and the Kittim, may the righteous nation root out in judgment from under heaven. For they will be the enemies and foes of my children throughout their generations upon the earth. And no remnant will be left to them, nor one that will be saved on the day of the wrath of judgment. For destruction and rooting out and expulsion from the earth is the whole seed of the Philistines reserved. And there will no longer be left for these Caphtorim, a name or a seed on the earth. For though he ascended into heaven, thence will he be brought down. And though he make himself strong on earth, thence will he be dragged forth. And though he hide himself among the nations, even from thence will he be rooted out. And though he descended into Sheol, there also will be condemnation. There also will his condemnation be great, and there also will he have no peace. And if he go into captivity by the hands of those that seek his life, will they slay him on the way, and neither name nor seed will be left to him on all the earth. for into eternal malediction will he depart. And thus it is written and engraved concerning him on the heavenly tables, to do unto him on the day of judgment, so that he may be rooted out of the earth. Chapter 25. And in the 2nd year of this week, in this Jubilee, Rebekah called Jacob her son, and spake unto him, saying, My son, do not take thee a wife of the daughters of Canaan, as Esau thy brother, who took him 2 wives of the daughters of Canaan. And they have embittered my soul with all their unclean deeds, for all their deeds are fornication and lust. And there is no righteousness with them, for their deeds are evil. And I, my son, love thee exceedingly, and my heart and my affection bless thee every hour of the day and watch of the night. And now, my son, hearken to my voice, and do the will of thy mother, and do not take thee a wife of the daughters of this land, but only of the house of my father, and of my father's kindred. Thou wilt take thee a wife of the house of my father, and the Most High God will bless thee, and thy children will be a righteous generation, and a holy seed. All right, so Rebekah's begging Jacob, don't be like your brother Esau. Don't take a wife from the Canaanites. And she points out Esau, he's taken 2 wives of the Canaanites, and they trouble my spirit because of their unrighteousness and their sexual immorality and their filthy deeds. You know, you have been called to a higher purpose, is what she's saying. And you have been called to walk in righteousness. So please don't do that. Here's Jacob's response. And when I read this, I thought, man, if only I could be more like Jacob. You know, as this description is how I long to be someone this righteous and holy, who's only focused on God and the purposes of God. And I'm amazed by the age that Jacob is at this time. Now remember, we've talked about this before, and I'll just say this real quick in passing because I'm running out of time. Back then, at the time of Abraham, people were living much longer and aging much slower than they do now. And according to the book of Jubilees, the reason for that is because of sin. We are a much more wicked generation. You know, this world, they try to tell us that this world's evolving and getting better. And no, it's decaying, it's rusting, it's devolving. And the human race is devolving, and that's why we're not living nearly as long as they did back then. And that's why we age so much faster than they did back then. It's because of sin. Because of sin. Anyway, verse 4. And then spake Jacob to Rebekah his mother, and he said unto her, Behold, mother, I am 9 weeks of years old. That's 63. 63 years old at this point, before he's ever married. But remember, 63 at this point would be like being in your 20s, really, as far as your age, as far as how you've aged. Because remember, Sarah, Abraham's wife, at nearly 90 years old, is walking into Egypt, and all the men are falling all over themselves over her, and to the point where she's taken to go to Pharaoh's house because of her great beauty. So 63, I guess, at that point it was nothing. I am 9 weeks of years old, 63, and I neither know nor have touched any woman, nor have I betrothed myself to any, or even think of taking me a wife of the daughters of Canaan. For I remember, mother, the words of Abraham, our father, for he commanded me not to take a wife of the daughters of Canaan, but to take me a wife from the seed of my father's house and from my kindred. I have heard before that the daughters have been born to Laban, thy brother, and I have set my heart on them to take a wife from amongst them. And for this reason I have guarded myself in my spirit against sinning or being corrupt in all my ways throughout all the days of my life. O Lord, that we would guard ourselves against sinning. Continuing on. For with regard to lust and fornication, Abraham my father gave me many commands. And despite all that he hath commanded me, these 22 years, my brother hath striven with me, and spoken frequently to me, said, My brother, take to wife a sister of my 2 wives. But I refuse to do as he has done. I swear before thee, mother, that all the days of my life I will not take me a wife from the daughters of the seed of Canaan, and I will not act wickedly as my brother hath done. Fear not, mother. Be assured that I shall do thy will and walk in uprightness and not corrupt my ways forever. And thereupon she lifted up her face to heaven and extended the fingers of her hands and opened her mouth and blessed the Most High God who had created the heaven and earth. And she gave him thanks and praise and said, Blessed be the Lord God, and may his holy name be blessed forever and ever, who hath given me Jacob as a pure son and a holy seed, for he is thine, and thine shall his seed be continually, and throughout all the generations evermore. Bless him, O Lord, bless him, O Lord, and place in my mouth the blessing of righteousness, that I may bless him. And at that hour, when the spirit of righteousness descended into her mouth, she placed both of her hands on the head of Jacob and said, Blessed art thou, Lord of righteousness and God of the ages, and may he bless thee beyond all generations of men. May he give thee, my son, the path of righteousness, and reveal righteousness to thy seed. And may he make thy sons many during thy life. And may they arise according to the number of the months of the year, and may their sons become many and great beyond the stars of heaven, and their number be more than the sand of the sea. Hey, real quick, she's pronouncing this blessing over Jacob. I just realized this, and she said, may he have sons to the number of the months, which would be 12, which is be how many sons he had. That's interesting. Moving forward. And may he give them this godly land, as he said he would give to Abraham and to his seed after him always. And may they hold it as a possession forever. And may I see born unto thee, my son, blessed children during my life. And a blessed and a holy seed may all thy seed be. And as thou hast refreshed my mother's spirit during my life, the womb of her that bare thee blesseth thee. My affection and my breast bless thee, and my mouth and my tongue praise thee greatly. Increase and spread over the earth, and may thy seed be perfect in the joy of heaven and earth forever. And may thy seed rejoice, and on the great day of peace may it have peace. And may thy name and thy seed endure to all ages. And may the Most High God be their God, and may the God of righteousness dwell with them. And by them may his sanctuary be built unto all the ages. Blessed be he that blesseth thee, and all flesh that curseth thee falsely may it be cursed. And she kissed him, and said to him, May the Lord of the world love thee, as the heart of thy mother, and her affection rejoice in thee and bless thee. And she ceased from blessing. And that is the end of chapter 25 in the ancient book of Jubilees found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And my friends, I am out of time. I pray that this message this morning has blessed you and you've enjoyed this study. Peace and grace be with all of you. And until next time, God bless.